It has been 22 years since the last episode of The Four Heads. The fire is fading, and darkness creeps across the land. The Lords of Cinder, charged with watching over the first flame, have abandoned their thrones and are slowly losing their sanity. An undead chosen to seek out the Lords of Cinder and return them to their fucking rooms so they can finally record this episode of Four Heads.
Is that it?
Is that all you got? Oh god,
That was great.
That was incredible.
Is that it?
Is that all I've got? What do you mean?
You know, it was great. I just wanted to make sure it was fine so that I could go ahead and say this for the first time in a very long time. What's going on, everyone? And welcome back to the greatest disaster on the internet. It's the Four Heads Podcast. I'm Goldenboy. You got Reinforced. You also have Sideshow and Bren, who came in from his slumber of death and destruction or whatever it was. We hope you have had a great time, because if there's one thing 2020 has taught us, is that it's a great year.
Oh yeah,
It really is.
Yeah.
Wonderful year.
Wonderful.
We just didn't record
yeah.
for a long time.
Yeah,
We were all really busy though.
We have been quite busy, and also we haven't really had much to talk about because in COVID we're just doing the same thing every day.
No, I'm sorry, Brent. That's the one argument that like we can always find a thing to talk about.
True,
You know, it's
yeah,
not
but
like we're like.
It's a little bit harder when you don't have variables coming into your life. You know what I mean? If you're doing like the same thing every day, almost near enough, then it's you don't really.
I keep getting on the phone to my parents, and my parents are doing all sorts of different things because they're in the UK and they live in like an area that's they can just go out into the moors and not see another person for weeks if they wanted to, but. They're doing stuff all the time, and they ring me up and they're like, "Oh, what's new? What have you been doing?" And I'm like, "Mum, I am sat inside my apartment doing work, and that is the sum total of my life. I'm not doing anything new right now."
Have you? Last time we talked, because we did Red Sky. Also, a lot of stuff has happened though, because now we have a Cyberpunk D&D campaign. That's actually how long it's been since we've recorded Four Heads.
The first, what was the last? Were we talking about it?
No,
I don't think it had even begun the last time we did a Four Heads campaign.
and we're like 6 episodes in.
Yeah,
So,
6 weeks in.
You know, anyway, but
we really
talked
have
last- you
abandoned the
said-
people.
We really have, dude. I'm shocked.
We're
that
just building up
anyone-
the hype.
Exactly.
That's true. That's true. Shout out to the people who always come into the chat. Like it happens to me a lot. I'm sure because Josh is super famous, so I don't think that matters. But like, they come into the chat all the time for me, and they're all like, "Yo, when's Four Heads coming?"
I
out?"
do
And
get a
I'm
lot
like,
of comments
I do.
saying that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We have
Josh
a lot
probably
of.
doesn't see it because his chat's moving so fast.
Josh actually donor walls his chat all the time, so he's probably
Yeah, I don't
never
even read
seen a
it.
comment on it.
I don't even read my chat. Why would I read the opinions of such lowly plebs that only serve to give me money? I don't understand,
Wait.
Alex.
No, you cannot seriously say that.
Oh.
I do. So I've been starting to stream.
Go.
Sorry, it just kind of
No,
goes
go.
with the subject. So I've started streaming these like Wikipedia streams lately, and
Sorry,
the thing
Wayne.
is,
What?
well, we can talk about more at an extent later. But it's a really entertaining thing I'm doing now with my streams. I'm loving it. I'm having so much fun. But sometimes, because I'm reading Wikipedia, people don't really talk in my chat.
What is the
chat.
concept? You haven't even explained the concept.
No, because it doesn't relate to the Wikipedia thing. It doesn't relate to what I'm
Totally
doing.
does though. It
Okay,
totally
well-
does though. You can't
okay,
just say,
so-
"Oh yeah, I stream Wikipedia."
I
The fuck you
stream
just said?
Wikipedia.
That's not even a thing.
Well,
It's like,
so
"Oh,
I
I've
wanted.
been
Okay,
playing Among
okay,
Us
we
since
can.
Spellbreak, but
Okay,
no,
let's
Johnny's
go
been
balls
playing
deep.
Wikipedia.
Let's go
Okay.
balls deep. I didn't want to go balls deep right off the bat. You know, I wanted to save it until like 45 minutes into the episode. I wanted to
just
get
want
Bren
you-
all his
I just
stories
want you
out.
to
Like,
touch on what a Wikipedia stream is, and then afterwards we'll dip our testicles.
All right,
But I
all
just
right.
need you to
So-
tell me what that is.
I've always like usually when I've streamed like the past year or so, every time I stream, it's just like, hey, it's me with the gameplay. That's all I do. Now I found a thing that I'm very enthusiastic about, and so I have my viewers redeem channel points to submit Wikipedia articles, and I'll read them and learn.
It's a very
Because
cool
I want
idea.
to learn more about the
That is
world.
genius.
Because I didn't go to college, and so I feel like I'm missing out on knowledge. Like I don't know history that well, I don't know geography that well, I don't know about countries, I don't even know about entertainment, like music, movies. Like I don't know shit. I know fuck all. And so I just wanted to learn more. And so I looked at Bren's chat, and he had like redeem to make Bren stretch and redeem for water. And it's just like a bunch of like healthy shit. And I was like, what's healthy for me? Healthy for me is knowledge. So I had my people redeem Wikipedia links, and I made it very cheap. So yesterday I read 44 Wikipedia articles in one stream. And
44?
Yeah, and it's tons of great shit. I'm loving it. It's so sick. It's blowing my mind all the day.
Can I just ask, can you recall any of that information? That's a lot of information to be taking in one sitting.
I mean, so obviously, like, I filter out the stuff I don't really care about, and like, you can't remember everything. That's with studying everything. That's why, like, you study every day, right? So you can learn like 10% more every day, right? Because if you just sit down and read a book and you know everything, that's not that hard. But the reality with studying is you have to do it every day to like grind in the details. Like, I don't really do that. But like, I can recall tons of stuff. Now I'm put on the spot, so it's harder for me. But I have a bookmarked folder with like my favorite ones, and I'm gonna make tweets where I sum up my favorite Wikipedia articles because there's so much cool information.
You were telling us some last night.
Yeah, I was telling you some last night. But those were my favorites. So I'm saving those for the social medias. Okay. I don't want to spoil them now. I've strictly told Bren and Sideshow and some others about it. But I want to save those for social media.
Secret
but anyway,
Wikipedia pages.
Yeah, so
hidden tomes.
I mean, they are kind of hidden among like millions of Wikipedia articles.
Sure.
But anyway, so my chat usually gets pretty quiet, like when I'm reading these articles, because sometimes, like yesterday, someone redeemed an article about like microchips, and I'm like, this is the most boring shit ever. It's like electro engineering, and it's like you gotta understand all the terms. It's like so boring. So my chat just goes quiet. So my chat is now getting spammed because I've enabled betting on my Nightbot. So I have Rhinepog tokens, and you can gamble your Rhinepog tokens in the chat.
I've seen people do that before.
You roll 1 to 100, right? If you get over 50, you win tokens. If you get under 50, you lose your tokens. And so there's gambling in my stream chat. And so all day yesterday, I'm just reading Wikipedia. I'm just reading Wikipedia, and my chat is just spammed by gambling addicts who are just gambling all their tokens. And they're like, oh, I've run out, reinforce, give me more tokens. And I'm like, going to Streamlabs, and I give them like 100 more tokens, and they continue
you have to
gambling.
Go into Streamlabs to do it.
No, so you earn loyalty points. It's like channel points. You earn them like over time.
It's a separate thing from Twitch's channel points.
Yeah, it's a separate thing. But they earn them over time. But they're like, oh, I want more money now. So I just give them like 100 loyalty points every now and then. And they just gamble it away. And I've never seen my chat this active in my entire streaming career. And people are just gambling. They're addicts. Like, I have people like saying like, oh, I'm going to bed. And then I come back like an hour later. And I'm like, hey, sorry, I wanted to gamble more before I went to bed. And it's just... It's great. So, Josh doesn't read us. Yeah, I love it. There's so much activity. There's so much chat activity going on. I've lured them in. They're like, I wouldn't be surprised if I was offline last night and people stayed in my chat to gamble while I was offline. I would not be surprised.
You've gotten your chat to stick around and watch your content by making them addicted to gambling.
It's so smart. It's genius. I don't even have to entertain them. They entertain themselves. I just get the ad revenue and sometimes subs. It's great.
Johnny, you may be the worst person or the best streamer. I don't know.
But is it fulfilling?
For me?
Yeah, knowing that the people are just there to gamble.
They're not just there to gamble.
Mean, look, it's their fault, okay? They're learning harsh lessons about life, about losing their valuables. I want to believe that some of these people, they won't go into the stock market and lose all their money because they understand what it feels like to go all in with your Rhinepog tokens and lose it all in one fell swoop. They've learned the hard lessons of life. So, and as for, my satisfaction, if you ever streamed, you guys probably know this, like Bren before Overwatch and all of that, he used to stream like a wizard outfits, but like, one of the saddest things you can ever do is actually stream and not have anyone say a single word. And you're talking to yourself. No one cares. That's one of the worst feelings as a streamer.
True.
So now people are just gambling. And I'm like, yeah, you guys go, dude. I'll just play WoW over here. I'll read Wiki. And you guys gamble. And we got an agreement. And it's great. So, I mean, I'm loving my streams these days. Okay. Off-season's going to be lit. I'm having a blast. I read most of the messages. Sometimes I check the leaderboard of like tokens, and sometimes it's up and down.
I read most of the messages. You wouldn't be able to even tell there were messages underneath all of the gambling spam.
Yeah, but it's a
crazy.
nice change of pace. Instead of me reading every message as it hits the fucking chat, now sometimes I have to read up, I have to scroll up the chat to catch everything. Like, it's such a nice change of pace. I'm not used to this.
Okay.
The activity is insane.
Have you guys seen the Wikipedia news that came out about a month ago?
What?
Okay, so maybe this will have passed you by, but I thought this was insanely interesting. Have you ever heard of the language of Scots? It's like
Can't say I have.
Scottish?
Okay, so yeah, it is basically Scottish, but it's not modern Scottish. So there was previously a genuine language called Scots that people in Scotland used to use. And it was big in like the I don't even know what time period it was, but it's like associated with Robbie Burns, the famous poet from that era. So okay, so it was like the late 1700s, and it is a genuine language. It has, you would be able to understand it. It's kind of similar to like Old English, right? But that in itself is a real language. So the Scots Wikipedia is supposed to be Wikipedia written in that language, but instead, an American teenager started editing Scots Wikipedia when he was 12 years old and just started replacing one for one Scots words that he found in a dictionary and just ruining articles. And something like 70% of the articles written in the Scots Wikipedia are just this American teenager who copy and pasted words from the dictionary. It's like if you were trying to write the French Wikipedia and you just took the direct English to French translations from a dictionary and just plugged them in with no
Without the
thought
grammar.
about grammar,
What?
nothing. Sometimes they don't even bother replacing the words or anything. They were so ignorant of how language works because they were 12 years old when they began, and it's such a niche language that no one ever really corrected them. And they've just... This is the largest collection of Scots language anywhere in the world, the Scots Wikipedia, and they've just butchered all of it. Just butchered it all. And so
it was never correct, or was it correct at one point in time? And that's why we all ruined it.
I think there were some articles that were written correctly, but because there's now such an enormous amount that is just sheer garbage, it's pushed the real editors away. Because it's an impossible task to try and fix it. So all of the articles now just read like they're written in a Scottish accent because they have English grammar, English words, and then the occasional Scots word just
I'm reading an
in.
article here, and I'm going to add a little paragraph in between Josh is saying this. But this is from presumably a Scots language expert. And they said, "This is going to sound incredibly hyperbolic and hysterical," wrote Ultak. "But I think this person has possibly done more damage to the Scots language than anyone else in history. They've engaged in cultural vandalism on a hitherto unprecedented." This is why I hate fucking intelligent people, because they use these long words for no particular hitherto. What is this guy? Is he from the Middle Ages? Like, what the fuck? Hitherto unprecedented scale. So apparently, yeah.
There too.
Okay, and so I was wrong with
There's more books on the
70%,
hitherto.
but this person has created or edited 49% of all the articles on the Scots Wikipedia. I mean, that is just an outrageous amount of raw content that they have produced or edited, but it's all wrong. And that's just mind-boggling.
How does he get away with it?
Well, because there's no one's maintaining it. No one's checking. No one's checking the articles.
They were bloody quick to remove
So-
the Plat Chat T-Mobile part, but
Wait, did they?
don't give a shit about. Yeah, they removed it like 2 days after, or 1 day even.
Oh.
I mean, that
Well, I
does
will
make
say
sense.
this. If nobody cares enough to check up on it and he's got away with this for this long, then surely at what point do we just let the language die?
I mean, that's a very fair
mean,
question, I think.
That's kind of messed up, though, no?
I don't think so. Latin's dead.
Isn't there...
Latin...
Well, I mean, people still study it, and it I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, people can study. But here's the thing. Like,
I
at
would
what
love
point,
to learn Latin.
Like, if this kid is trying to do it, right, and he's committed because he likes the language or whatever, I don't know. He's been doing it since he's 12, he's 19
Well, he
now.
clearly doesn't like the language.
Well, he didn't know. It was like done in his heart was in the right place. You know what I mean? He has the spirit.
Was it?
He just didn't have the guidance.
Okay,
yeah, because he wasn't
I'm
intending to vandalize it. He thought he was doing good.
Yeah, he thought he was.
He said the first article he wrote it at the end, like in the article under the Canadian geese. He wrote a thing saying like, I'm not. It's not my native tongue. Please improve the article if you can. And as he wrote more and more articles, no one was improving him. So he was like, I must be doing it right. And just carried on doing the exact same shit.
Wild, isn't it?
Yeah.
But why is he even doing it to begin with?
Because it's his hobby, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, he's 12, right?
To
I mean, when you're 12, you just see Wikipedia as being an editable article, and you're like, hell yeah, I'll go and contribute.
Yeah.
I can do that. I mean, 12-year-olds just don't understand anything about how language works. It does seem very reasonable for a young teenager that if you just substitute one word for another word, you'll create a different language. Like, that seems very reasonable. That's how I would have assumed that language worked when I was a kid.
So I don't know what isn't and isn't Scots, which is the problem here. I don't know what the situation is, but if you go to the Scots Wikipedia page, I'm just trying to figure out like what is and what isn't like accurate here. But it's like following recent revelations, Scots Wikipedia is presently reviewing. I'm saying this grammatically as it says, reviewing its articles for muckle laid inaccuracies. And then it says in broken Scots, there an ongoing request for comment about limiting IP article crafting. I don't know if that's legit or not now. Well, I'm so scared.
The second one says in broken Scots, so presumably
He's
not.
Broken Scots?
No. As in the second sentence is not in fluent Scots, presumably.
There is a FAQ, an FAQ about what happened.
Okay.
I'll link it in the doc so you guys could go ahead and check it out. It's right beneath Bren contemplates getting a tattoo. More on that later. So it says, what happened? It says, recently a user on Reddit discovered that many of the Scots Wikipedia articles were written inaccurately, primarily in mangled English. A significant portion of this was the work of one user. These revelations quickly gained traction on the internet and received press coverage. The Wikimedia community is now working diligently to find a solution and ensure this does not happen again. And then, so that what will happen to the user? Nothing. It is clear that their contributions, however misguided you may find them, were made in a sincere effort to improve the Scots Wikipedia, and they will not be punished for that. It is, however, unlikely that the user in question will continue to contribute to the Scots Wikipedia. Well, geez, I would hope so.
Also, you couldn't punish the guy, could you?
Here's the thing, though.
That's what I'm thinking. What punishment would they be able to...
A hardware ban him from my Wikipedia.
Imagine if he studies.
Bad.
Imagine if he studies up on the language.
He could I mean, if he was very PR savvy, there are ways of being able to spin this into becoming a bit of an internet legend. Like, if you genuinely took a few years to learn Scots to a very high level, and then you came back and you fixed all of your mistakes and stuff like that, or you made like a YouTube channel teaching people how to speak Scots, you could turn your cultural vandalism into something positive.
I actually have a lot of respect for people that like preserve like old languages and stuff. Because when I grew up in our fishing village, we had like a very heavy accented like dialect or language in of itself. But with my grandparents, that sort of died with that generation. And I'm really sad about that because that was like a very unique language and dialect in that regard, and no one really carried it on because everyone just got accustomed to like the capital Swedish speaking.
Wait, what language?
Whatever,
Swedish. But he's just saying.
It was Swedish, but it was a very heavy dialect. Yeah.
Oh.
But same with Latin, like you brought up, Bren. Like Latin is a super cool language. It has so much history to it. And it'd be a shame if all of that just died out, in my opinion. Like, I think that's super cool. Also, that video that you posted earlier this week, Bren, where like this guy learned people's languages and then would talk like their own language to them. It just makes people happy. Like they identify with that kind of language. If everyone were just to learn Mandarin or English, like it would make the world way more convenient. But I think that lose some of like the epicness of like other languages and stuff.
I agree. Yeah, and when I said that the Scots language should die out,
Oh God!
I was about to say. Yeah, I can't say
So
that,
fucked
can
up,
I?
dude. No, you can't because we.
No, I meant I was about to make another joke. I was like, actually, man, I wanted the Scottish to die.
Oh,
dear
jeez.
Love
to see
but like we
I've
have
been
to
watching
preserve
too
language.
much 8 out of 10 Cats where that kind of harsh, kind of dark humor is the norm. And now every now and then I'm like, I have these mini anxiety attacks that's going to slip into my speech pattern during a cast or something.
Yeah,
and I'm gonna tell Josh.
It depends on the
his mouth
context,
last
right?
night during sex or something. I don't know. But yeah, like this. I completely agree with you, Johnny. I said it mainly in to try and get a couple of laughs and to try and tilt some people who were listening.
I mean, I do think there are languages that it's just unfeasible to be able to try and continue because the once a population gets so low, it's such a gargantuan effort for the few people that are left, and you can't expect people outside of your small pocket of culture to really care enough to go and learn it themselves. Like, for example, your Swedish dialect. Like, you're not going to persuade people from the rest of the parts of the world to learn that dialect or care about it because they don't have the same connection with you. It would have to be like some, culturally significant
I guess I wish it was more
population or
documented.
something. Yeah,
Because, like, that
documentation
generation
is important.
Spoke that dialect before we had like TVs or recording machines or like whatever. Like we couldn't record that dialect whatsoever. But now in this day and age, like you can record like
you can record
African
it in Wikipedia.
Tribes talking about
and screw it all up. I think
Gaelic
it's so
language.
Gaelic. Yeah, I think Gaelic's a totally separate language though.
Yeah, separate language. But that also like on its way out, right?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I don't really know.
Tons of history behind that.
Expert.
I don't know why I thought of that, but
what I find really interesting as well, when you said about if the world just spoke English or Mandarin or something and everyone spoke the same language, how much you would lose. What I really love is that certain languages just express concepts very differently. Like there are certain concepts in English that you can't express unless you use an entire sentence. And there are some other languages that just have a single word for that concept. And there's just some things that people have never bothered making a word for in English because they're either really niche or something.
Buddhism has a ton of Buddhism is not a language, but that religion where they speak those languages like Thai or whatever, they have like actual like philosophical ideas just like baked into a word. And it's so mesmerizing because every time you study up on Buddhism, they just unpack an entire idea in a single word. And it's so badass, and there's nothing like it. Like English, I think.
It's something like my roommate brought up to me the other day. That
I forgot about that running gag.
She said, which I found to be quite interesting actually, because she was talking about when she went out to meet me for the first time, and when we decided to become roommates. But when she met me for the first time, she was able to tell her mom, "I'm just gonna go out and see friends." How do I remember it? Because people come into my chat every day. And when Cynthia brings me food, they're like, "Oh, did your roommate bring you food?" And it's like, "Yeah, my roommate brought me food."
Does she
She
like
loves
that?
the gag. She loves the gag, by the way. She thinks it's hilarious. She also finds it funny because she's like, "Yeah, you really do only talk about like the Bronx roommate or me and like Stella." And
that's quite endearing, though, isn't it?
Yeah.
She has a hold on you like none of her. I mean, it's lovely.
Wonderful. Anyway, not the point of all this. Love my wife, but whatever. So here's the thing. So she brought up the other day how when she wanted to like relate to her mom, like she couldn't like lie, right, in Spanish, whether or not who she was going out with. She would have to say mi amiga or mi amigo. There is no catch-all word for that, right? So like no matter what she had, like in Spanish, there is no like friends. Like friends could be literally anything. You could just be like, oh, I'm going out with some friends. Oh, okay, who? Oh, a few of my friends from school. Oh, okay, or a girl. Yeah, just mixed boys, girls, just friends. That's it, right?
Yeah.
But in Spanish, and like no one's gonna get like that inquisitive regarding it.
The feminine and masculine.
Yeah, exactly. Because of the gender labels that you have to have at the end of it. And I think this conversation stemmed from another interesting thing that it's not something that I learned because I'd known it previously, but then it kind of like caught me. I just forgot about it. Was the whole Hispanic Latinx thing? Because Hispanic Heritage Month, and then Twitch botched it horribly. I don't know if you guys saw that at all. It was genuinely the funniest thing. Twitch thought that Hispanic Heritage Month meant doing modifiers for your emotes that include maracas, sombrero, and a guitar.
What?
And that represents the entirety of the Latino, Latinx, Latina, Hispanic population.
What?
So Mexico, Peru, Puerto Rico, Colombia, like you know what I mean? Like
how
Dominican
does
Republic,
that pass? Through the filters.
That's what I'm saying. How does that happen?
When I was at Twitch, which is also another running subject that I constantly talk about, I guess.
Well, it's very intriguing.
I was the only Puerto Rican person that worked in that office.
Yeah.
I mean, I honestly could count on one hand how many Hispanic people work there. Like, it's really bad.
But aren't the offices in Cali?
San Francisco, right?
The offices are in California. Generally speaking, at least the people I know from California, generally quite, I would say, savvy with the world. How does that fly?
I don't think they necessarily are, though. They want to be, but they're not savvy with the world. They're just trying to not offend people.
It's being woke. Right? It's the whole being woke thing. It's
you can be woke without any idea of what the hell you should be doing, which I think is the majority of people in California trying to achieve that, but without the
it's admirable.
Without the
but that
knowledge.
Is a little bit of critical thinking would maybe
go a long way. Yeah. Like someone literally said like all you had to do was just release a thing with all like it's easy and it's lazy-ish. Could be seen as lazy, but just release all the flags or reach out to the community and ask them what kind of modifiers you want to see for emotes, right? Like there are all sorts of different things that you could possibly do that would have been way better than Twitch saying a sombrero, maracas, and a guitar represented all of
they
Latin
must
America.
have asked some Hispanic people though. You can't.
Sure about that?
I mean, that would be insane levels.
I will go
nonsense.
a little bit further with this because we're kind of diverting from the subject of what I was referring to, but I do also want to kind of touch on this too because I think it's like quite interesting. If you look at the announcement that they had, right, and then what they proceeded and followed with regarding the broadcasters that they promoted, my friend Rob, he was like particularly offended by this because he's like they didn't even bother to like look out for the content creators. Like a lot of Hispanic content creators like do a lot of sports content. Not a single sports streamer was on the list of all the different streamers. It was all just like Warzone, Fortnite, and Among Us people. Like that's all it was, right? Then on top of which, they also didn't highlight people who speak the Spanish language, which was also another problem. Like there is a lot of Spanish speakers on Twitch. Like if you just filter it, you'll see it. It's massive, right? They didn't even bother. So
Those
it was just
filters
like
are kinda sick.
it's generally like, in my opinion, I think it's just that the way that Twitch, it kind of just like we're like, okay, we have to find some Hispanic content creators. Okay, great. Partner team, get me a list. And partner team, because a lot of them are like I think there are a few minorities now, but for the most part, a lot of them are white. Not to badmouth, but just how it is. And they all looked at who they knew, and then that's what they did. They got the same people that they know. They didn't look outside of the box and try and like incorporate different people. That's the ultimate problem with Twitch, unfortunately, because the human system, right, chooses based off of their own I don't want to say prejudices because that would be an inappropriate word here, but it's like whatever it is that's in their mind, it's like, oh yeah, this and this is perfect, right? Without like saying like, okay, let me take a deep dive. Let me actually watch some Latino content creators or Latinx content creators and like let me go through all of this and like see who could be a good fit for this. I may not speak the language, but let me go ahead and reach out to other people
But
who do, and then maybe they
yeah,
could find that for me, right?
they must have like
could tell wasn't done.
representatives of that community, right?
That's what I was
So
thinking, right?
they do, right? They do have a
Or like,
Twitch Latin America team.
Yeah,
But
why
they're
can't I just ask them?
again, you look at the list and it just isn't like I'm curious if they did. I'm curious if there are parameters that they have because everything is an algorithm. So it's like I wonder if like they just looked at the list and were like, oh, Spanish content creators won't do as well with an English speaking audience and so on and so forth. But yeah, I mean that was it. So it sucks. It really does. But hey, right? Twitch,
Yeah,
what are you gonna do?
I'm kind of surprised by this because I generally have like in my Swedish community, I have the a completely 180 like perception of how Twitch usually treats. I mean, it's two different groups, right? Like obviously the community leads for Sweden and the community people for Latin America is obviously not the same, and they probably do like their job differently or whatever. But I was actually surprised by how well managed the Swedish community is on Twitch as well, because like it's entirely like its separate section. All of those Swedish Twitch streamers like hang out and stream with themselves. They're like talk Swedish on social media. They have like winter Christmas parties in Sweden. They send out like TwitchCon invites in Swedish. Like they get like Swedish newsletters. There's so much shit going on in Sweden.
Yeah.
I'm not even part of the fucking community. Like, I don't talk to any Swedish streamers whatsoever. But I was genuinely surprised by how invested Twitch was in establishing that Swedish community and making all of those Swedish streamers like build them up.
It's
like
about who they hire.
For you
It's
saying
who they
this
hire,
is
right?
just disappointing.
It's who they
what?
hire. It's the community lead because there's one for the UK partners who I don't know, but I don't see that. I don't know.
That's
Josh,
why
have
it's
you
so
ever seen those
shocking.
emails?
I never really read them, to be honest.
Yeah, but like it doesn't. That seems like quite a invested community lead, someone who's quite driven.
Oh yeah.
So
I mean,
it depends on who they hire, right?
They used to be like the editor-in-chief for like Fragbite and stuff, if you remember that.
Right.
So like
Shit, Fragbite. Yeah.
Yeah, so like
well,
a big
when
Swedish community
I
know
was
about.
there, I remember there was like, I want to say maybe 3 or 4 partner managers, or not partner managers, but just 3 or 4 people in the partner team for Latin America, which
Yeah.
and then I think like Brazil had their own. And that's basically it. So it's really, and here's the thing, right? Like if let's say you hire like 2 people from Mexico, Mexico's massive, right? It makes sense to hire 2 people from Mexico because it's such like a big region that you're going to
Yeah.
need even more. I would say even 2 people is not that much, right? Like you'd want to expand that to be a bigger team. But if you do that, like the culture, even like some of the words, like the way that they talk and interact with each other, it ranges from country to country, right? Like
Oh yeah, of
the
course,
the,
of
the
course.
cultures are just different because
Yeah,
you know
man.
they are different countries. That's just how it is. So you can't really expect 2 partnership managers from Mexico to be able to know the needs of content creators in Chile, for example,
Oh, absolutely
right? Like
not.
that's
Yeah.
just not that it just doesn't tie together. So I don't know what Twitch has done to rectify that. Genuinely, like I don't know. But I will say that, and it was nice to see that they were there. Like they were always so pleasant to talk with, and to hear their grievances and what they wanted to see change, and some of the uphill battles because it is treated differently out there. Like I remember like sometimes some of the people like they would be working on esports contracts as well as dealing with individual partners. Like that's really hard to do, to deal with Gamalta, right? But then at the same time have to deal with every single content creator that speaks Spanish. And that's just one like esport company that I could think of. But that's like typically how it is. It's like a multi hat wearing job out there. Whereas like in America or in Europe, you have specific people who handle specific tasks. You have a partnership manager for certain partners. You have a esports partner manager who handles like the ESLs and the facets of the world and shit. So I don't know. I genuinely don't know. But it did derail. So I'm sorry. But
What were we talking about?
I can't remember.
I wanted to talk about the fact that I learned about the term Latinx. I didn't know what it
What
was.
is Latinx?
I honestly didn't know, but I didn't dare ask.
No, it's fine. It's fine. It's good to know. Like, I didn't know this.
But
So
what is it?
Latinx is basically the generalization for Latin America, but like we typically say Latino or Latina, which has gender
so it's
attached to it.
Oh,
So
Gender
Latinx is
neutral.
kind of just like gender neutral, catches it all, right? So at first I was like, what? That's just weird, because I grew up obviously only knowing one term. And
Yeah.
it could very well be a very like Americanized thing where like, as Josh had said, all the woke people are just like Latinx. It does sound badass though, like, Latinx, right? Like
Yeah.
it sounds like really like make it into a video game. I don't know.
WWE.
WWE presents Latinx. There you go. It's done. Anywho, but yeah, so I learned about that, and I thought it was quite interesting how like it is so much over the years to just like evolved, right? It goes back
Yeah.
to the whole like there is no catch-all term for things, right? Like Cynthia can't just say friends in Spanish. Like you may think, oh, it's amigos, but like there is like there is a specific way to go about it. Like you could say amigos, but like there's still a gender attached to it,
Yeah.
essentially.
Interesting.
So language in general is just really curious in that regard because you have so many different ways that you can break it
Yeah.
down, and there's always something to like learn from it. So to that point, Johnny, learn Latin. Bren, learn Scott.
It would be so dope.
Josh.
We wouldn't know how to speak it.
Just learn. Just learn something.
dude.
I've been learning recently. I've
Oh, I'm
decided to
Segue.
buy.
Yes.
What a segue! I've
That was
been.
great. I
I've
can tell you've been
decided
hosting
to. I've decided to buy a piano because and start to learn to play the piano. And I'll tell you why. It's because I looked through the foreheads in this Discord at the last message that was sent, and it was Sideshow sending me a video of Mark Ribelet.
Yeah.
Ribelet?
something
Oh
like that.
yeah.
Of him singing and saying, "Is this you?" Because fucking everybody does, because we look pretty similar. And I got watching his content unironically because it's really good. All of his improv shit. I'm listening to him now, just doing his "Racism Sucks" song.
It's
Dude,
pretty good.
He is
Racism does
mental.
suck,
I
though.
love his content. I've been watching so much of it on YouTube, all of his streams and whatnot, where he does the improv stuff all on the MIDI setup. And I was like, fuck it, I'm just gonna buy a piano. So I
Only Bren.
Well, I mean, no, that's not only Bren. That's a great thing.
I do love though how Bren tweeted that he was Bren tweeted out an Amazon link for a baby grand piano, a $4,000 baby grand piano, and people believed it because only Bren thinks, because
That's
that
an
is
only
something
Bren
that
thing,
he
yeah,
would do.
I wanted
My
to bait
favorite
people.
thing. My favorite thing about that Amazon article was as well. It was a $4,000 piano that had 3 stars.
Yeah. Like no one would buy that.
Yeah, that was great.
It's pretty good though, because I feel like when you get older, you convince yourself that it's difficult or it's not worth picking up new skills.
Yeah.
But it's nice to train yourself to say to just break those molds. Because I've actually picked up piano. Granted, I've only been learning for 1 day, but I've picked it up pretty quickly. And I will say this. I will say that unironically, because I did the, what is it called, Josh? The C major triple.
The broken thirds. Yeah.
Broken thirds. That shit. It's to train your hand movements. So you got to go like do do do, and then do do do. And
It's
then
a very basic beginner skill. Yeah.
do, and then you got to go shifting it over. It's like to train your hands, the hand movements.
Yeah.
The hand movements when you're playing piano.
Well, when you get really good with your hand movements.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean?
Then
You know what I mean, though?
The ladies and the men come running.
Exactly.
Because listen, men have prostates as well.
That's true.
As Bren once famously said, the male prostate is in the ass.
Is in the ass, of course.
Brent's
Specifically the male prostate.
Yeah, but it's cool to just learn a new skill, in my opinion. And I'm
I
excited
can't wait for
to
you
see...
to learn the D major. That's gonna be a good one.
Why? What is that?
No, never mind.
Just one up from C, mate. But I think it was a sexual joke.
Oh, that's a really
I
bad
think he was
joke.
talking about
Sorry.
penises.
Yeah.
I'm almost certain he was talking
I
about
only think
penis.
about the arts, the musical arts.
The art.
So that doesn't apply to me. I just didn't get it. Yeah, I'm excited. And then can you imagine what's going to happen in a month's time when I upload the next Twitter clip and it's me playing the Ocarina of Time theme perfectly?
My friend
racism sucks out loud.
You should
Yeah,
cosplay
saying
as like
racism
Mozart
sucks.
or something.
cosplay as Mozart. Yeah, fantastic. I'm sure
'Cause you
everyone
did
will get who that is.
You cosplayed as that guy in Philly.
Benjamin Franklin.
Benjamin Franklin.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You just put that on, say you're
guy.
Mozart, just go rock. Like, that would be a banging stream on Twitch, dude.
My friend taught himself how to play piano, and he ended up going to music college and got work on like cruise ships and in bars and stuff playing piano, and now he runs a Dark Souls YouTube channel where he makes comedy Dark Souls videos. He's had a
Wait, what a transition.
Wait, hold on, what?
yeah, so he was really big into YouTube stuff. And so he was making YouTube videos, but also learning the piano at the same time. And so he was making comedy. I don't know why he never tried to make comedy improv music. I don't know why that wasn't a thing that he decided to cross over his interest with. But he went and did a bunch of like, he tried to get into playing piano professionally, as like a entertainer. A lot of people hire pianists to play background music in bars or to play for music on cruise ships is a big thing apparently, and now he runs a YouTube channel. Just thought I'd throw that one in there. It's never too late to learn a skill. You never know where it'll end up taking you.
Check it out. Overwatch League 2021 finals. DJ Khaled, Bren.
Dude, you said this, and you're not the first one to make that joke, which makes me think that it might happen. Can you imagine the 20? What year did you say? Was it this year or next year?
2021.
I mean, 2021. You're not going to be good enough then.
2022,
But
maybe
yeah,
2022.
let's aim for 2022.
You don't think 2021 I'll be good enough?
1 year of playing, you'd have
your
to
own
be
friend.
grinding. Like you'd
Your
have to
own
be
friend.
really.
Okay.
What if I
grinding.
played
No.
every day?
I think you could play one song. Like, okay, instead of DJ Khaled, let's say he does a set with Zed again or some shit.
No,
you
no.
know?
What
it
if
has to
I
be.
And then he does
played-
one piano song with Zed. He can learn one song.
Yeah, you could learn one song to a reasonable level, but 1 year of learning piano is still not usually enough to get very good at one song, I would say.
I feel like I'm picking it up very quickly.
Yeah, I actually do wonder, because
2 hours in.
when people normally talk about young kids, like that's the best time to learn skills because your brain is more malleable, you pick things up really quickly. But at the same time, you've developed like a better work ethic and stuff like that when you're an adult a lot of the time.
Even understanding concepts. I feel way smarter about concepts now than I did 10 years ago.
I mean,
because when I was like 12,
that's a good thing.
I would just take in information, right? But I wouldn't know how to structure that information or like utilize that information. Whereas now I know how to like sort out the information and like structure it.
But that doesn't apply to
there a
everything. That doesn't apply to all things. Like languages, people are worse at learning when they're older. You pick up languages like a sponge when you're really young. Like teaching someone to be bilingual as a child is very easy comparatively to when they're an adult.
I will say, I think part of it as well. How many kids were forced to play piano by their parents because it looks good on whatever the bougie ass college application form? You know what I mean? Because I know I have friends who picked up piano because they would help their university applications and stuff. And I know of people who were forced to play piano or forced to play an instrument, and they didn't really like, they played it, but I don't know if they enjoyed it.
I hated learning violin when I was a kid, but I really enjoyed learning piano. Yeah, I played piano first, and I enjoyed it, but the piano teacher that lived around the corner ended up dying, and so I tried out a different piano teacher and I didn't really like it. Like I was still emotionally attached to my previous piano teacher, so I just ended up dropping it. Yeah, thank you for the giggle, Johnny, about my tragic piano teacher's death.
Fucking hell.
I can't get much worse than that, can it?
No, it actually can't. Traumatized me as a child, and I ended up abandoning the instrument, and all of that potential was utterly wasted.
He could have gone far. Josh actually could have gone. Josh could have been the one
Didn't you
playing
also
alongside DJ
abandon
Khaled.
being like a doctor too? So like you just it's like a trend though. No,
It really is a trend, yeah, of so much wasted potential in my life.
you just end up talking about video games on fucking Twitch and
Yeah.
YouTube. Dude.
God, an absolute
This
tragedy.
freaking piece
Tell
of
you
shit
what, Josh.
podcast.
I'm very proud of us.
I think you're exactly where you need to be, Josh.
I mean, I'm exactly where I'd like to be, for sure. I would not like to be the Beethoven playing doctor.
How do
He
you know,
says
though?
he
How do you
says with
know?
like 20 boxes of Pringles behind him and a tower.
I've just seen this.
Of
I've
everyone.
just seen the increased size of that goddamn monument.
It is getting much bigger.
Are
Much
those
Exactly
empty
where I
or
want to
those,
be.
Are those filled?
All the ones on the top are empty. The 40 cans on the bottom are still full.
Get the
Isn't
fuck
that
out of here.
eye-opening though? Like, surely that's problematic.
Oh,
You
yeah.
haven't gotten
That
fat.
many Pringles have gone into your body.
Oh, it's disgusting. Some days I get finished with a can and a half and I feel sick and I
Show me your
feel
stomach.
like I have a horrible problem.
But why
me
do
your
you do
stomach.
it?
Why do I do it? Because once you pop, you just can't stop.
Oh no! Oh no!
I can't help
We're
myself.
not even getting paid, dude. I'm not getting paid. You are. But I'm not getting paid. My God.
I didn't know Josh had an addictive personality until now.
I have a very addictive personality.
Wait,
Well, yeah, 'cause
Really?
now apparently you're
Oh.
hooked on caffeine now, right?
Hell yeah, I'm maybe not addictive, but obsessive is definitely the right word. And if I get like attached to something, I'll be spending all my time with it. And like food, I've just got absolutely no self control whatsoever.
Chess.
So
I
yeah,
will
I mean
say-
chess, dude. How many? I've got a problem with chess as well. I know that
you
that
said
sounds
you were
like,
dreaming about chess.
well, that
at
was
one point.
that was a while back. Yeah, that was when I first started learning because
Like
it involves so
2
much
years ago, yeah.
visualization. But at the same time, how many games of bullet chess have I played in the last year? Let me see if I can even find that
While
information.
you look for that, I did want to say I looked up, is obsession the same as addiction? And it says the main difference between an obsession and an addiction is pleasure. This is because an obsession usually refers to compulsive behavior that the individual feels driven to do. But yet we label addiction in a very negative context, but yet there is a mountain of Pringles cases behind Josh. And at some point, we have to say your obsession is just as evil as an addiction.
Well, it certainly
I
could
mean,
be.
that might be an addiction.
That's an addiction. I don't, but that's the thing. I don't want to label the addiction as negative.
Well,
I
here's
wanna
the
make
thing,
it- I don't
Josh.
wanna make
When they
addiction
stop
feel bad.
sending you Pringles, are you gonna buy more?
No,
Would you go out your way to buy them?
no,
Okay,
I wouldn't
yeah,
go
so
out
are
of my
you
way to
eating them
buy
because you're getting them for free?
Yes, absolutely. But the issue there is that I have them in my home because they're free. But once food enters my sphere of influence, it's going in my body. It's like a black hole. Once you cross the event horizon, it's going down my esophagus. There's no stopping it.
You really don't have any self-control with Pringles?
I have no self-control with most food. I have to, whenever I've bought food, or rather, whenever I have been trying to make myself more healthy at any point in my life, it just has to be, I don't buy the food. I'm pretty good with self-control when it comes to buying things. I don't compulsively buy. But once I buy it, I'm eating it. Like it's worse when I go back home over Christmas because my parents buy for the whole family. They'll buy like a block of brie and a whole chorizo stick, and then they wake up the next morning and I've just consumed the entire block of cheese
Oh, you just
and an,
malnutrition.
Italian,
What's
and an
happening
Italian
here?
sausage.
You should just start going to the gym and you could put all those calories to use. Like you could actually become a bodybuilder with the amount of food you're eating.
But
Well, that's the crazy thing is that you must be consuming so many calories unless
Oh.
you're skipping a meal.
no, I'm not skipping meals. I mean,
But you don't do any exercise, so where's the weight going? Into your ass?
I do have a fucking donk.
Where's it going? Where's it going?
It
Have
has
you gained
to, bro.
weight?
Yo, I think that we've only ever seen Josh from up here.
Yeah, it's true.
So what if
actually.
he's just got a fucking
Bro,
Okay, so
it's gonna end. We're gonna see Josh, and he's just gonna be rotund from the bottom
Josh
down.
get up with his fat, juicy looking fucking ass. Just so good.
Well,
Thighs are underrated.
I hadn't been gaining weight before the Pringles. But so that's the thing. I monitor my weight by not buying this kind of stuff because then I can't eat it, you know? But I have definitely eaten.
That is so many.
I mean, I think I've eaten on average since receiving these Pringles cans, probably 1.3 cans per day.
What?
Okay, is it?
I mean, we're probably
is
looking
it
at
just
like
you,
20,000
or is it you
calories.
Is it you and Beth?
Oh, yeah, Beth's occasionally having some Pringles.
Some.
But are you like grabbing them and you're just like
Beth eats a normal amount of Pringles. She'll take a can and she'll eat some, and then the can's still there the next day, and she'll eat some more, and then maybe over the course of 3 days she'll have eaten a can.
Do you not feel sick when you eat a can?
Oh yeah, especially the Texas barbecue because they're so sweet that I feel ill after eating.
I
it.
got
I
through.
feel sick thinking
I got
about
through
it.
half a can of the Texas barbecue, and I was like, I have to put these to one side. I
Yeah,
can't eat
yeah. Well, it
anymore.
takes me about a can and a half to feel sick, and then I swap flavors to the jalapeno because it washes
that
it
you
down.
know the measurement. You know that it's about a can and a half before I start to feel like
Oh yeah.
visibly ill.
Oh, yeah.
2 cans and that's when the vomit comes out.
And
3
again,
cans in, oof.
I mean,
we're off to the races.
I wish
can
I
I-
wish I had the self-control, but I simply do not.
Well, can I tie this back into piano? Because
Do that.
this,
I'm gonna open my window. This talk has made me hot and bothered.
talking about the idea of learning as a child and obsession of Josh's talk of his obsession over Pringles. That I think there are advantages to learning as a child. Like your brain is like a soft putty that you can mold into
Yeah.
anything you want, right? The kids can pick up information pretty quickly. But the one thing they lack is, like you said, that work ethic or just learning more ways to learn. I think this is different, though, because I haven't been forced to do this. This is something I've picked up of my own volition. So that,
Right.
I think, because like I woke up this morning and I wanted to play piano.
Yeah, for
I
sure.
wanted to learn.
Yeah, definitely. I think
which
that's a
is
good
like
point.
which is often, I think, more valuable than talent or picking up at a young age in a lot of ways.
Yeah, just
I
a
woke up
desire
and
to
I
do
wanted
something.
to read Wikipedia articles, so I certainly sympathize with you.
Yeah.
I think that's the most important thing about work ethic as well, is that I think a lot of people, a lot of like the hard ass people are like, it's not about motivation, it's about discipline. Like you should just discipline yourself to do things. I've never been a big fan of discipline. As someone with absolutely no self-control, discipline has always eluded me. But I've always found that if you're really motivated to do something, if you can find joy in some aspect of work, it ceases to become work, and you just really want to do it because you find some satisfaction in completing the task, or you find some satisfaction in learning whatever it is. That's how you end up doing something very productive, is finding the joy.
Have you
in
guys
it.
managed to break down like your personal reward systems and how to like work around it to like make yourself feel motivated? Because like some people, that they like, some people have enjoy having like very like long-term goals. Others prefer having like short-term goals, only scheduled day by day. Others prefer week by week, year by year, etc. Right? So you have to learn your own reward system and what works best for you, right? So one thing that actually made me very motivated to stream and had me I loved streaming when we did like sub challenges to each other, like whoever gets play of the game, we gift 5 subs to that person, because that's who I am. Like I'm competitive, right? So that made things way more entertaining for me.
Wait, did you just
and
pick
actually,
Moira
like,
every game?
Yes.
but that was
You did,
also
didn't you?
because you forced me to support. I was not allowed to play DPS, so
True,
you didn't give me much choice. But yes,
True.
but I learned there
Abusing
that
the algorithm for the 5 gifted.
I abused the algorithm for money. That's true. You gotta make your Skrilla. But the point being that obviously I learned that I'm very goal driven in that regard. I'm very competitive and I need a goal. I want a challenge, and that's how I become motivated and encouraged to stream more and have fun with it, right? have you guys like broken down what makes you feel rewarded in that regard? Like, are you able to like plan around, how you work most optimally, or like, do you guys just kind of do shit on a whim?
That's something I struggle with all the time. I don't know. I go by my day to day. I literally, because of our schedule as well, you never know when something comes up, and you just
That's
have
true.
to be free for the day, or you can't really plan too much. I've been very flexible this entire year. I don't really plan out stuff.
I definitely have though, Johnny. I think that something when I was a teenager, when I was going through my A levels in college, I just thought about all of that stuff as being unknowable for some reason. Like I was just like, oh, people are people, we're all different. I don't know how I work. And just decided to wing it and just developed a lot of stupid habits. And mostly because I didn't really care about succeeding that much, I think, at what I was doing, because I was at uni for a job that I didn't particularly want. So I think that was some kind of like internalized self-sabotage there as well. But definitely since being in esports, I've kind of figured out more about how like my brain works and how to make it
how to work around it.
Yeah, how to be productive and like what structure I need in order to succeed at things, but also discovering things about myself in terms of motivation as well. Did you see Henry G post his twit longer when he was talking about being burnt out from casting and that? I mean, that's huge. Like what he's doing at Cloud9 is also super interesting, and that was really interesting for me as well, because I have never really thought of myself as being somebody that wants to achieve something specific within a space, like I'm just motivated to do my own stuff. I have a lot of different stuff that I enjoy doing, but I would never have identified previously with being someone that wants to be the best at something. And I kind of realized when I was reading through his thing that a lot of what I'm doing is that I'm very motivated to be at the top of my field in something. Like I'm just putting in stupid amount of hours at the moment into Valorant stuff. And I can't even work Valorant events. I can't do it. Yeah. But my brain says that I want to be the best at knowing this game. Like my brain is just on that track, and that's now what I'm on. So I have to kind of, you have to understand that is what you want, and kind of allow yourself to go down that track. And that's something that I've also been really struggling with, is focusing on one thing. Because I want to do so many things that getting really good at one thing would probably make me happier, but I'd have all of this FOMO of the other stuff that I could be good at.
I feel that so
I get
much,
that all the time, where I feel like now when I'm playing WoW, that I'm just like, wait, I'm not like playing Valorant with like you or Bren. I'm not playing Overwatch. Like I'm missing out on what you guys are doing, and I'm losing like my friendship with you guys. That's how I feel sometimes when I play WoW. I'm just like, I'm not hanging out with you guys, and I get scared.
Don't you do WoW raids with like Custer and Bren and Matt and all those people?
No, so we play a different version of the game.
We play different versions of WoW.
Which
that's
is a
weird.
Shame, but yeah. But sorry, both Goldenboy and Bren, you had points.
No, I think like I find this conversation to be quite interesting, because I wanted to get back into commentary. I actually had a conversation with Kurt today. Because for those who don't know, Kurt's myself, I'm in CSA, so is a few of us here, and Kurt's one of the managers. And I just called him, and I was just like, for years and years, he's been like beating over my head. He's just like, dude, you're a good host. You're a good host. You should just continue to like narrow this thing down, right? And and I look, and I won an award for it, right? Yeah. So clearly, like, I must be okay. I think maybe I don't know.
So happy for you. That was so fun to watch you.
You're okay.
Oh, it was great. I'm okay. Right. I'm okay. But check it out though. Right. By the way, I found out the Esports Awards Host of the Year nominees this time around. Like a few of the people don't even host. Just funny.
Wait, that's not even announced yet. You can't.
I just heard through grapevine.
Dude, you can leak.
No, I'm not leaking. I don't remember. I just know that like we were talking about it, and a few of them like aren't even hosts. I was like, huh, that's weird. Anyway, but regardless, I remember doing this job, and there was a point in time where I just hated it. I genuinely hated hosting. It was boring. So
Yeah.
but one of the reasons that made it boring was this like weird thing where like people would tell me like, oh, you're a good commentator, but like, dude, you're a great host. And like when I hear that, what I'm hearing is you're shit, mate. Like you're garbage. You're a terrible caster. You just stick to hosting, right? It's like a soft way of letting me down.
Right.
And
We
that's
all
how
have
I
that.
received it.
Is
Yeah,
that
Sorry,
because
if I
how
could just say
received
for
it.
like 5 seconds, it's
No,
like
go
it's
for
so
it.
funny because I feel like we all have that. I had the same thing when I analyzed the first year of OWL, and it's just like they were like, "Oh, you were an average player, but you're a great analyst." And I was like, "No, I'll fucking show you. I'm a great player. I'll fucking show you. I'll be in the World Cup. I'll fucking go back." And it's like, no, just like stick to your own thing. So I had the same thing. I just find it funny that we all
Yeah.
can sort of empathize with that.
So yeah, and that was it, right? Like someone told me, I don't know who it is, variety of people told me that I was like that I was a good host, but or I was a great host or whatever, and that I was, a good commentator. So that just aggravated me because I was like, well, now I just want to prove to everyone that I'm a good commentator, so everyone could just go fuck
Fair.
off.
Yeah.
Right. So then COVID happens and everything shuts down, and then Valorant comes out, and then I get offered a few gigs to commentate Valorant. First time ever doing attack FPS. Oh my god, so much has changed since we last recorded. This is crazy.
Yeah. It's wild.
And I did all the Valorant stuff, right? I think I did every North American Ignition Series event. I poured my soul into it. It was rough in the beginning, but I felt like toward the end of Pop Flash, I was like, oh dude, I got this shit, right? Like I know I felt really good.
I definitely agree.
Yeah, you were really good at that one.
But coming out of it, dude, I was like, okay, I'm good. I'm just like, all right, I'm done.
And that was it.
If I get called to do it again, sure, I'll do it. But I don't know.
Did it not scratch the itch that
it didn't.
you thought you had?
It didn't scratch the itch.
Yeah.
It didn't. I realized what it is, right? Is that like I have a desire to be creative, and I just don't feel like for
Hosting role gives
myself.
that.
Well, here's the thing, right? Hosting doesn't really give that either. You have to force it. Because if you recall, when we did season 1 of Overwatch League, right? I would get there and then we would try and do as much ridiculous crap as we possibly could do. Right?
Just the creative.
That's just what I did.
And
it was like I had 1 week, so they just kind of let me do whatever I want to do. And they would tell me, they would always drop this like a little nugget. It's like, oh, we love it when Goldenboy comes in, like the production. They'd be like, we love it when Goldenboy comes in because like, he'll do something insane. We can't do that every single week though, but we love it. And I thought about that phrase a lot, and I'm like, why couldn't you? Why couldn't you have fun regularly? Why does it have to be so dry and monotone? Like what is the reason? I'm not saying like Puckett or anyone was like dry, or even now. Like I think you guys were awesome this season. I think everyone knocked it out of the park.
Polished, perhaps.
Yeah,
they were very polished. I think
it was just very. They had a format that they liked sticking to.
Yeah, and we were also on national TV and stuff, so it was like big deal.
But then you think about and you look at LEC, for example, and you're like, they're doing a lot of creative shit over there. It's entertaining. They're doing things differently. They're challenging the norm, and it's great, and it's creative, and it's funny, and it's content that people want to watch. And that's where I realized like that's what I like to do. I just want to do stuff that's entertaining, that make people laugh, be happy, and have a good time, because that's what video games are supposed to be, right? Like I could go through a million different, as a host, like introduce a million different slides that show you stats of why X player performed incredibly well in this round and blah blah blah. But like what does that matter? What does that truly matter?
I listened to Counterpoints. It was a great podcast with Thorian, Moses, and Machine from the CSGO scene, and they talked about the Henry article and like the talent quote unquote crisis in CSGO, about how they have so many like third party TOs that had the same rundown, and they're not creative at all. It's the same shit. Like here's the matchup, here's the starting rosters, here's the map selection, go into game, and they do that for like 4 or 5 best of 3s a day, like 12 plus hours, and it's just
Yeah.
the same thing for like year on year, and it's like no creativeness whatsoever. Like
And
we
they're
have
more
Watch Point.
focused on the graphics. They're more focused on the pretty graphics and the transition screens and the interstitials, and that's what they
Yeah.
care about, right? Like,
Yeah.
oh yeah,
Fresh
the
feel.
CS, the CS observer, right? Oh man, this particular like Blast's recent one or whatever, I don't know who it was. It was watching an event, and I was like, oh, it looks really good. But then I watched the rest of the show, and it was like, this isn't a show. You're just giving me a tournament. And I know that people
And they were like so upset about it because they're like,
yeah, as they
so many
should be.
ideas. Yeah.
Because where like that's the reason why, like, even for myself, I will say, like, when I did Pop Flash, it was great. Like, I think Monty and those guys are doing some brilliant
Nailed it.
work over there.
Yeah.
It was very free flowing, like Monty said from the beginning. In case you haven't realized, it's a very talent driven show. Because someone like Monty realizes that talent are important, and telling the stories alongside with the talent that want to tell those stories in an effective manner. It's important to do. But then I work like a bunch of different shows, and it's just like, not to knock them, but like I do Twitch Rivals here and there, and I did this one Twitch Rivals event for Fall Guys, and I got called randomly for it, and I was like, yeah, sure, why not? It should be fun. I love Fall Guys, and I was there, and I was just like, what am I doing now? Like, okay, great. Like there wasn't like substance,
Yeah.
and
But
substance makes you feel fulfilled. It's at least that's what I've taken away from it.
yeah. No,
That's
for
how
sure.
I feel.
One of
Yeah.
the things that Moses said that I really like acknowledge or like agree with is that he said that like he didn't. This is not a direct quote. This is me sort of like trying to understand his opinion. So he didn't say this, but he tried to make the point that essentially like esports is a like cutthroat industry that TOs don't really give the talent like the opportunity, like they don't give them the opportunity to succeed because they're afraid to fail. Like they're scared of making like bad third-party videos that like are like cringe or like are not funny or not engaging. So you cannot try out all of these like talent ideas because you have to invest, camera crews into them. You have to get like post-production going and stuff. And like if they're so scared to fail that they're not willing to invest in creative ideas in the first place.
Yeah.
And
they just wanna
I
stick
think
to the
that
same
rings
stuff.
true for a lot of TOs in esports because they're like, well, we don't want to make bad content, but so like why risk money and budget and talent hours or like whatever to try to get ideas going in the first place? Because he said like, some ideas are going to fail and some ideas are going to bang on and like be LEC level, high level production stuff, right? But you have to be scared to fail and potentially put some money on the line to try to develop content ideas and get some creative greatness out of it, which I really agree with.
TO's argument will be
esports, yeah.
the TO's argument would be like, well, it's not your money, it's my money, right? And to that extent, I'd say, yeah, you're right, it is your money, and then you would stop making money because your shit becomes so stale that no one cares about it anymore. So either you take the risk now and you try and like get further out there and put yourself out there more so. You see, this is the problem that I have with esports in its current state. It's that to do something different, because we have so many little edgelord kids, to do something different, or not so many, but a vocal minority of edgelord kids, it is considered cringe. That is just the dumbest. It is the one word that it bothers me so much, because when someone says it, it's like you could tell that they just don't understand the context of it, right? Like when I watch, if you ever see The American Office, there's an episode called Scott's Tots, okay? And the whole basis of the episode is Michael Scott, the main character, Steve Carell's character, years ago promised a school of kids that he like young youth, right? Like freshmen, a particular class, that if they graduated, he would pay for their college tuition, right? Now, as you can imagine, they graduated, but he, a low-level manager of a Northeast paper company, could not pay for the tuition of 20 separate students in that class. That is cringe, because you're like, oh, that's bad. And I can't watch that episode because the whole time I'm like, oh, that sucks.
Secondhand
dude.
embarrassment.
That's cringe, right?
But that's what people that's what people experience when they see like it's a bit like have you ever watched SNL and it's just a sketch that doesn't bang? And
I
you
can see that,
and you can put yourself in the actor's shoes and you're like, oh man, that one kind of whiffed. Like you get that secondhand sense of disappointment that they had a good idea but it failed, and that I think is what people
class.
Yeah.
And just some bad improv classes or some bad improv sketches were just like, ugh.
Yeah, and that's like I think that's part of it, but it's also when you're afraid to, like, a lot of people have a fear of public speaking and embarrassing themselves in front of the camera and that kind of stuff. So if you're a viewer that's like that and you see something that isn't perfect, if you see some tiny awkward moment, that is going to bring on like waves of secondhand embarrassment for you, even if the person experiencing it isn't embarrassed whatsoever. You know, there's like some small fuck up on camera and there's like a small awkward moment and you just laugh about it when you're the talent. But if you're watching and you're a naturally awkward person, that's going to cause you extreme cringe because you are imagining yourself in that position.
I mean,
and you would die because you've never worked on those skills. You don't feel comfortable yourself.
Yeah, that's where it comes from. Just insecurity, bro. Don't need to listen to the haters anymore, GB. Listen, we kings out here, you know? We kings.
Oh, no.
But
the best part about it, well, no. I mean, where I was going with it was that, like, you know, there are a lot of fundamental problems with esports, right? As far as like content and what's being delivered out there, but also just about being fulfilled. You know, like, what are the reasons why I chased this goal of being a commentator was because someone told me I couldn't do it. And then I went and I did it. And I think I did really well. And I'm not saying like, oh, I'm done with it. But what I am saying, it's like, oh, but I still don't feel fulfilled at the end of the day. And it took me a while for me to realize why I feel fulfilled, or why I could be fulfilled in the direction that I would like my career to go in. It's that of like creativity and just having fun. Like I've been having so much fun playing Among Us, and I know that like everyone is playing Among Us right now. But the reason why, it's just because it's so entertaining. Like
I'm gonna play it like 3 times.
Yeah, there was a tweet that Pastry Time sent me that I thought was like really funny. I'm gonna see if I can find it real fast. But it's like the perfect embodiment of 2020 so far. So I had tweeted, and I'll put this in the doc so you can link it here. So I had tweeted, uh, is it bad that all I want to do is play Among Us, even though it's the lying friend simulator? I still enjoy being able to talk to as many folks as I normally won't get to talk to chat with or game with. And it's because of that, it like brings out your creativity and you get to have some fun and you can joke about things and blah blah blah. So then he says, if Animal Crossing was the bucolic utopia that everyone needed when quarantine began, it tracks for me that Among Us are the social gatherings we all want right now, even if sometimes people get maimed along the way. And I don't know what bucolic is, but
apparently it's like a rural idealistic. It's like a word for rural idealistic kind of pasture of land or something.
But basically, like, if it was like some kind of utopia, like, and he's so right, you know, but it's because those games like express your creativity, and that's part of the reason why I'm like really just in this quest for creativity. Like, I'm putting a YouTube video together and I'm working with an editor on it, and I'm just like talking to them, and you know, we're bouncing ideas back and forth, and it's like, this is great. Like, this is literally what I want. I
like
can't edit for shit. You know, like, I'm terrible. If I could edit, I would edit on my own, but I can't, right? So I'm okay hiring someone who's good at editing and then just creating with them along the way. Find it to just be compelling and engaging. And that to me is fun. And I'm almost of this mindset where it's like the rat race of like chasing after gigs isn't as fun as it once was for me. You know, if that makes sense.
Sure.
Like, that's kind of where my brain is.
Fulfillment is a very weird thing because I don't know if I'm a little bit concerned that I don't think I'll ever achieve it. You know what I mean? With any aspect of what I'm into, I don't know.
Yeah.
It's
no, Bren, because that's why when you know what parents tell their kids, like, you're supposed to try so many different things. and you'll essentially like in the end you'll probably find
Well,
something that you really stuck to.
Yeah, let me
So
give you
I
context.
really praise you for getting a piano in the first place and actually trying, because you're trying new shit and it might stick and you might actually like go through with like learning songs and shit, and that's really cool.
Yeah. I mean, for
I
the
agree.
context of why I'm saying I don't know if I'll ever achieve fulfillment is because the goalpost keeps getting moved when I'm getting into something. I think it's
Oh,
like
that's fair. That's fair.
commentary. When I got into commentary, it was I was very short-sighted when I was getting involved into commentary. Like, I started out because I enjoyed it and it was a hobby, but then part of me, when I was that young, because I was like 19 when I was getting into commentary, loved the fact that other people would talk about me in like the Team Fortress 2 scene. Like the players would love when I would commentate their games because I would get hyped and start screaming and shit. But the more you get invested in a field, the more you realize how to hone it and other stuff. And I think the thing that was driving me before, which was always public recognition, has is gone to the wayside now, and it's less that. And I've realized as well, there's no such thing as being the best, honestly, in terms of commentary.
No.
You can hone your shit, but
Yeah.
a lot of it is subjective for who's listening. So there's no number one leaderboard to be working
Yeah.
towards. It doesn't make sense like that. So instead, my goal with commentary now has moved in a weird way, and now it is purely to I still do it for it's kind of weird because I part of the thing that I really enjoyed when I was commentating in TF2 was hearing how the players enjoyed my commentary, just because I was getting hype. But I still enjoy that aspect. If the players enjoyed my cast and thought that I did it justice, like if they felt like I pointed out the key moments and I hyped up the right plays and I sold the storylines, then that's pretty much the only thing I'm working towards with commentary. And COVID's put a stop to a lot of the motivation to improve some of the technical skills of commentary for me personally. Like this year was supposed to be a big go to an event, just really fucking honing my shit, and that's been put on the back burner since COVID. But it's this year's definitely been a weird one, trying to find what makes me feel fulfilled, I think.
Yeah. I think that specific goal-oriented aspirations and like fulfillment based on achieving some specific thing is very difficult, and I think it doesn't work for many people, because if you build yourself up for like that one moment isn't enough to sustain you for the rest of your life. Any achievement that you get is not enough. You know, whatever trophy, whatever recognition you get, if it's just based on one pinnacle moment, that's not enough to survive on for the rest of your life. You have to really enjoy the journey or something about the process in order to get fulfillment out of it. So that I think has been that's never really been a shift for me, honestly, because I haven't been particularly goal-oriented. I've just enjoyed projects. Like, I enjoy the process of working on something and creating some product at the end. But that's, you just go on to the next project at that point, rather than having a goal in your head of, I want to be, the best, or want to win an award or something like that. Like, those are the goals that leave you feeling hollow, I think.
I find it very interesting, because when I look back at my pro career, I have two very different, like, fond memories of it. So obviously when I played for Rogue, like, we were among the best teams in the world. We won 2 trophies. Some people even hailed us as the best team in the world, right? That was a very special kind of like fulfillment, and like being the actual best at something and like winning those tournaments. But when I look back at my pro career, I would argue that I had the most fun being a pro on Misfits. And even though we like bombed out of tournaments, we disappointed people, like our management was stressed out because we underperformed compared to like our, initial contract or whatever. Like, it was very stressful in that regard. But I've never felt closer to a group of people than that team, and like the laughs we shared. And like, it's two very different kinds of fulfillment, where in Rogue I was like the best, and like, but in Misfits I like that family I had with my team, and like so much fun we had, that camaraderie is unparalleled to anything I've ever experienced in my life. Like, some days I just look back to that Misfits team and I'm like, I just want friends like I had then. Like, we were so incredibly close with each other and so emotionally dependent on each other that it was like it felt like we were on like a fucking tribe in the Amazon, like depending on each other for survival. I'm not kidding. It sounds memey, but we were so dependent on each other, and like we're so close to each other that it's like I can only imagine that's like what, you know, like army people or whatever describe like when they're in a squad together and, you know, like they have missions to accomplish. Like it was unreal. And so I find it very interesting how you were like, it's about the journey, and then you compare it to like people who get enjoyment from the goal. Like I've experienced both of those, but I probably look back at my Misfits days like very fondly because of the journey and because of the people I was around and because of the friends I had then. Like it was incredible. So
Yeah, that's awesome. I mean, yeah, no, I think that's like there's so much to take away from this. Like fulfillment, I think, is just an important thing, which actually brings me to a topic I did want to discuss.
Okay.
And I don't know how you guys feel about this. I don't know. I'm actually, you know what? I do think this is the perfect group to talk about this with. So recently there has been a debate regarding skill-based matchmaking. I don't know if you guys are
I
familiar
have
with
been
it.
so outside of all of this. I've been.
You'll have to explain it. I need to
I've been
pee
in
though.
calls. I've been in calls with
1 hour
people.
20.
I've been in calls with people who've been talking about it. I was watching Ninja the other day while I was eating my breakfast, and he was talking about, I don't know what the fuck's going on, because I apparently this has been the topic of late to get interactions with on social media.
Yeah. Oh no, 100% is. Okay, so let's go ahead and start from the top. So skill-based matchmaking is exactly as it sounds, right? For those who are watching and probably aren't familiar with the term or aren't like clued in, it's something that impacts battle royale games more so than other like just arena FPS games. And the concept is very simple, right? When you play, you have a secret MMR. As you get better and as you play better, your MMR, your score increases.
Yeah.
And thus it matches you with other people of a similar score. So it's basically like a soft rank. But it's not like a hard rank like you would see in Valorant, where like I'm plat, I can only play with diamond and gold, you know, like, or depending on where I am in plat, like that determines like my range, you know. So uh, the argument here is that skill-based matchmaking has effectively made people annoyed because they feel like they have to, and this is the term, sweat all the time. And it's mostly being driven by content creators. Like this whole thing has been driven by content creators, and the reason why is because they just want to stream, collect all these kids' money, and then just, you know, stomp noobs all day and
Yeah.
pretend that they are good at the games that they're playing. And I'm not calling out all streamers for this, like, and I understand, like, because a lot of people are like saying, like, yeah, but you know, like, I love the game. I just want to play the game. I don't want to like just sit there and just grind all day. You know, like, why can't rank mode exist? And then, you know, there be skill based match, or you know, where there's skill based matchmaking, but then the casual matches are just that, casual. And that's been the common excuse as well. So I to kind of start it off, skill-based matchmaking, in my belief, especially coming from like Halo and
So
stuff.
what are they
is
introducing
that-
it in a game?
Well, it's in a bunch of games. It's in Fortnite. It's in Call of Duty, Warzone.
It's not in Fortnite anymore, though, is it?
It is in Fortnite. Yeah,
I thought they removed it.
No. It's still very much there.
Are you sure? Me and Wyatt were talking about this yesterday, and Wyatt was convinced they removed it unless they added it back.
Okay, so maybe they did recently. Sorry. Epic Games has entirely removed skill-based matchmaking from Fortnite. So yeah, so the point is that they essentially want skill-based matchmaking, and I stand by this. It is driven entirely by content creators who want to pub stomp on people and pretend they're good at the game. That's it.
Okay, I can see two arguments for either side here. Like the content creators, obviously, they want to pub stomp in the game because it gives them good content.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of it also, there's a couple of things you need to weigh, is how much of the game's longevity is off the back of content creators making videos around it. And like, do you want those people to play the game, and do you want your game to be the game that they're playing, which is free advertisement all the time?
Yeah.
That's an argument against the skill-based matchmaking. But also, battle royales are just not suited for that style of play. Like, you watch, I'm not going to lie, you look at the tournaments, I think battle royales are one of the worst competitive formats. It is a casual format. Like, you're supposed to drop in and get a couple of kills, maybe get the win. Like, I think, yeah, you can make an argument that maybe you should introduce skill-based matchmaking so that kids don't get sweated on, like little Timmy's trying to logs into Fortnite. But that's why Fortnite introduced the mech and all the other shit, right? So that Timmy could get a win every now and then. Like I don't see why people are getting up in arms about it. In my opinion, I know some people have the opinion that some people have the opinion that if you don't want skill-based matchmaking because you're a content creator and you want to just get, rack up 20 kills every game, then you're making the game worse for those people. But I mean, I don't know, you just jump into another one. It's like Battle Royale is just inherently very casual in my eyes. Like it's not intended to be competitive.
But that's why I actually would like to talk to someone who is a casual and who is, probably pretty bad at the game, and talk to them and see like, hey, how often are you winning games? Are you getting, fulfillment from actually like killing people? Like, how often do you like die within the first 5 minutes? Because this is an area where obviously, I would side with the skill-based matchmaking. We should have that because it's very, it's.
Can I give you an anecdote from my childhood that I think would answer your question?
I just want bad people to win. Is what I'm saying. I don't think that the bad people are getting their arguments highlighted enough. I don't feel like they're getting. I think that they're getting like.
The bad people will get a win. Because I have Call of Duty Warzone. I've got a lot of friends back in the UK that play. They're not particularly good at Warzone. They don't really understand the base concepts of like how to be good at a battle royale in terms of playing a circle, rotating, taking optimal team fights. Yet they still get wins because there's that many players that eventually they play enough games, they will get a win. Like if the game's big enough, they'll get a win.
Skill-based matchmaking
In Warzone,
yes, it's because they
when
are.
Did they introduce that in Warzone?
It's been there for a while. Like that's part of the reason why this started in Fortnite. Like everyone complaining about it in Fortnite, they introduced it. People got really angry about it because they're like, I don't want. And Fortnite is see in the instance of Fortnite, it's hard, right? Because I kind of understand like that is a mentally taxing game because the build battles and like just the keeping track of resources and mats and
so apparently
players
Warzone
really, really good.
Sorry to interrupt. Warzone doesn't have skill-based matchmaking.
It does.
It says it doesn't. Yeah. Infinity Ward claimed that it doesn't. I think the argument that people
I don't trust anything that Infinity Ward says because they're not. They also claim that their spawns aren't broken, and we've seen evidence of that. So I'm also not an Infinity Ward fan. So to be fair, if they claim, they claim, but everyone seems to believe that Warzone has matchmaking, has skill-based matchmaking. Everyone seems to believe it. Point that I'm trying to make here is that like, yes, you'll win, but my issue with this whole thing is that it stems from popular content creators creating a herd mentality all in an effort because they know that their fans will listen and agree with pretty much anything that they say, so long as it doesn't like encroach into politics or something like that, right? Because that's where it gets really fun. They'll agree with anything that they have to say, so long as it rewards their preconceived notion that is the reason why they are not winning, because they believe that they are not winning because of skill-based matchmaking. They believe that they are being matched with too many good players, and because they're being matched with too many good players, that's the reason they're not winning, without realizing the reason you're not winning. It's always the same problem, right? It's people don't want to get better. That's it.
I don't know.
I thoroughly believe that.
They are losing because of skill-based matchmaking, because they just... I don't think it's just content creators. Most Call of Duty people that put time into the game want to go and shit stomp people. They want to just hop into a game and roll some scrubs. That's what they've loved doing in all of the previous games.
Yeah.
And that means that the way that they enjoyed playing the game is no longer really available because they're playing against people that are the same skill level as them. So it's more like it sounds mental to anybody that's used to playing a normal competitive ranked game like Overwatch or Valorant or something like that. Like the idea that you would just be smurfing constantly and that's your expectation of how to play the game is kind of bonkers. But
yeah,
that's different though, because it's a battle royale. Like the format of the game is so you're in a lobby of 100 people. Like your enjoyment from the game.
They've also done that with previous Call of Duty games as well. That's why it's a thing that Call of Duty fans are very like hyper aware of, is that they've done this in former Call of Duty games too, like just the pub games for COD.
Yeah, which because people just want to jump in and frag.
Yeah, because it just it makes it the thing that they always say is it increases player retention for like 80% of the player base, because 80% of the player base is trash and they don't want to be just getting farmed all the time. So it gives most people more of an opportunity to actually have fun games. But the good players, the players that are invested in the game, the players that care about the game the most, end up getting hurt by it because they can't go and just pub stomp everybody. They're actually playing against other people that
But see, that's the problem that I have though, right? It's like they're hurt because they can't pub stomp. But it's like also, I don't know, like I grew up playing Halo where like you played against people of your similar skill. That was your only option. And that's what you were used to. We truthfully we look down on Call of Duty because Call of Duty was just like this easy game. And it is an easy game. Like no matter how you shake it, like Call of Duty is an easy game to play. You know, it's designed that way.
Here's my anecdote that I wanted to give you for this for just games in general, I guess. Was when I was a kid. When I was like, I have a vivid memory of being around 9 years old. No, I'm probably a bit older than that. I'd probably say I was 10 or 11. Playing RuneScape at my grandmother's house. And there was a piece of content that didn't give you an advantage, didn't really train any of your skills, didn't make you money. The entire point of it was like, it was a thing off the side of a quest. To give you some more context, it was in this swampy area, and part of this quest chain was hunting down with a bow and arrow that you had to make. It was a very specific bow and arrow. You had to make the bow and arrow out of wolf bones and shit. So it was like you had to create a specific set of equipment for this very niche mini game on a portion of the map, and the only reward you got were colored feathered hats that you got from from hunting various birds. But I kid you not, fucking hours just farming the birds because I was like, oh dude, this is so sick. You kill the wolves and turn their bones into arrowheads, and then you turn them into feathers, and you got to fire these huge bows at these birds, and then you kill them and you get the feathers. When kids are playing video games, I don't really think that when they die, they're like, oh, how did he kill me? Oh, well, into the next one. I genuinely think that is their thought process. Like they're not, I don't think they're concerned. If they die, they're most likely going to blame it on some, oh dude, why this guy's so lucky, oh such a bullet sponge, lag, blah, 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 into the next one. You know,
aren't there actual studies that say that like if you don't let kids win like 1/3 of the time, they'll actually be demotivated to continue playing if you don't let them win once in a while? Because it's like a parent, it's obviously going to win at literally every game ever against a child, and if the parent doesn't let the kid win like 1/3 of the time, I think the kid gets demotivated. I think that's an actual study.
It could very well be.
I just think that you need to make a trade-off, right, with skill-based matchmaking. And this is where the conversation ends for me, is that do you want the game to be big on social media, on Twitch, on YouTube, on things like that? Do you want your content creators to be getting these 20-kill games, which is what their fans want, it's what they want? And do you want that free advertisement? Because otherwise, you're not going to get it if you introduce skill-based matchmaking. They're not going to play the game. It's going to be unfun for them.
But if you do introduce skill-based matchmaking, then you're going to retain much more of the bottom-level player base just because your game is more fun. Yeah,
because
that is the trade-off.
The trade-off as well is how many people won't play it if their favorite streamer isn't playing it. Because you don't think this is the case, Josh, because you have never been like that. But when I was watching YouTube and shit, I would only play games that my favorite YouTubers would play.
But I think you're overrating how big the streaming base is. Like, okay, it looks big, but it's a tiny fraction of the amount of people that actually play Call of Duty. Most of the people that play COD do not watch streamers or pay attention to YouTube. And that's the player base that makes the most money for these kind of games as well, is your average player. The people that are invested in the scene enough to even know that there is skill-based matchmaking is such a tiny proportion that you can't monetarily affect the bottom line for Call of Duty. You're just a drop in the ocean.
Yep. Yeah, like my brother, for example, he plays Warzone with his buddies like pretty frequently, like just, casually. Like they mostly spend their time playing games like Destiny and Division, like a lot of looter shooters, because that's what they enjoy. But on occasion, the four of them would hop on Warzone and they would play. And like they'll get wins, and my brother would be like, "Yeah, we got like 2 wins last night." And I know because I mean I played Call of Duty at a very high level for many years. I know that I am way better at my brother than Call of Duty. But I also know that like when I play Warzone, I'm getting into very competitive lobbies, and I see it. I see it even though I don't play Warzone much anymore because I just don't like Modern Warfare. That said, he's so happy with getting wins, and guess what he did? He saw that, oh, there was a New York team skin. So he bought the New York team skin pack because he enjoyed playing the game and he wanted a cool looking skin so that he could, rock for his games. And that's that, right? Like that's what Activision wants at the end of the day. I don't think they care about those content creators to the extent, because here's the deal, especially now that they introduced a partner program for Call of Duty. Oh yeah, all these people that are complaining now, it's going to be the same thing like when Epic had the creator code, right? Same crap. They're all going to be like, man, I'm really frustrated with skill-based matchmaking. Meh. By the way, use code blah 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 in the Epic store today, and like it's the same. It's going to be the same shit for Call of Duty. It's not going to end, because so long as like they're making money from it, and like what you said, Brent, which I thought was the most interesting part of all of this, was you were like, oh, is that like the latest thing where people are getting a lot of interactions around it? And that's exactly what it is, dude.
Yeah.
It's just a way for you to just farm interactions. Like and then I see people like talking about like, oh well, they should just introduce ranked. Yeah, sure. You're not going to play ranked. I know that they're not, right? Like all these people are like, if I want to sweat, I'll just play ranked. Well, guess what? Ranked, if they did introduce it, they won't play it, right? It literally happened in Apex Legends. Like they introduced ranked. No one played it because no one wants to know that they're actually shit, right? Like no one wants to see that you're like gold division level player and you're a streamer streaming to like however many hundred viewers, and everyone tunes in and sees that you're shit. Like it's or not shit, but like you're just like them, right?
Average.
You're average.
The thing is that I hate about skill-based matchmaking, this is my personal experience with these games, is because they introduced it in Fortnite, and I hated it because I consider myself to be an average gamer, and I don't think I'm above average unless I like significantly put time into it. But when I go into a game, I just want to have fun. I want to maybe get a win. I want to, I'm going to try hard to win, and like my aim ain't bad. But what would happen is I would come across in Fortnite. What would happen is I'd get into these lobbies, and you would get these unbelievable kids who would invest so much time into their building. And it's like, that's not what I want. Just remove the skill-based matchmaking. Because I'm average, I'm getting put in these average lobbies with maybe some people who are just above me, but they got to average because they are incredible at various faculties of the game, of which I'm not going to touch because they require a significant amount of time investment. And in Warzone, it's similar shit, actually. I found that when I was playing Warzone, it's just so hard to get. I don't know. I felt like, do you remember when we were playing GB and we were playing Warzone? I was like early on in the game, and I was hopping off with the sniper. It was just fun. I was just running around with a sniper, just dunking heads, just not really worried about too much of the game in terms of like gaining high ground control, thinking about the circle ahead of that shit. But as soon as you get like 1 or 2 wins and a lot of kills per game, if your KD is particularly high, it just starts putting you in these lobbies with people who the only thing they do is play Warzone. And that's the one thing I don't like about it, is that I feel like I'm being punished for just being slightly average. I don't know. That's my viewpoint.
I totally get it. I'm not like, see, this is the thing, right? I think for a lot of people, when I talk about this subject, like on Twitter right now, there's like I wanted to basically just be like, look, when I played, when I play like games like competitive FPS games, like this is what I play it for, right? Because this so like skill based matchmaking doesn't matter to me because either
Yeah.
I will go up or down in my secret MMR or my background MMR, and it's whatever to me. Like I genuinely don't care. I'll just get better and win, or I'll suck and lose, and then maybe I'll just get better and win and regain, right? Like that's how I've always thought about it. But to your point, like, and I get the perspective of a lot of people too. Like they're saying like, oh, I just don't want to like load in the game and then just be trapped in like these lobbies that are just hyper competitive the entire time. But to that,
Yeah.
it's also like, but also think about the millions of other people that they don't want to run into you because they are not at your skill level yet. But I don't
That's
know,
part of the
like,
game. If there's enough players in the game, you can
Yeah.
put like 10 people at my skill level and everyone else below or whatever. I don't give a fuck. But basically the law of averages essentially works out is if you have enough shit people, eventually they play enough, they will get a game where they win. And you can still have the best of both worlds. If they've got statistics behind it that showcase that they get better player retention from skill-based matchmaking, then sure. But
Well,
I don't know if I would trust it.
That's what I'm about to bring up as well, is that some of the... so skill-based matchmaking, as you would normally use that term, is that you try and pair people that are the same skill together to let newbies have a good experience, or at least a competitive experience, a chance of winning. You let the top players actually play against other good people and test themselves, etc., etc. But there is a theory... I'm not going to say that it's a conspiracy because there is some reasonable evidence for it on the Apex Legends subreddit, and I've put the link in the document as well, and I'm going to bring it up on screen here too, is that some of the EA employees co-authored a paper in 2017 that said an engagement-optimized matchmaking framework. And this is not skill-based matchmaking. This is matchmaking that is deliberately, I'm not going to say rigged, because of course you can still win games against people that are good, but it is deliberately giving you harder or easier lobbies based on your recent results in order to keep you engaged with the game. So the thing is here is that they had churn just means your chance of basically disconnecting, right, to stopping playing for the night. And they've got some different... This was based on 1v1 games, but you could imagine that you can extrapolate it a little bit, where there are different patterns that keep people engaged. It's not as simple as people just winning constantly keeps them in the game more. And you can't just have people win constantly. Someone has to lose. But by mixing up these patterns and trying to give people wins occasionally, you keep them more engaged, you keep them involved in your game, and you keep them spending money as well. So the theory is that these kind of systems have actually made it into games instead of straight up skill-based matchmaking. So that the idea is, and this is where it gets into a little bit more of conspiracy theory territory, is that these players believe that when they are getting wins, it is deliberately putting them not in fair lobbies for their skill, but they are deliberately being put with very difficult lobbies in order to force them to lose, to reset them back on this engagement pathway where they are more likely to carry on, rather than just win or whatever. And if you're losing, it's going to deliberately put you in a very easy lobby to give you a free win in order to keep you on this pathway. Now, as far as I can tell, there's no actual evidence that this is how specific skill-based matchmaking in either Apex or Call of Duty works. But the fact that there is a paper out there from some EA employees, certainly it is something that has been thought about, and it seems pretty reasonable that it would be added to a game like this. Like, at the end of the day, a developer's job is to keep people invested in the game.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's not outside the realms of possibility that something like this could be involved in some kind of skill-based matchmaking game. It could be in any game. It could be in any kind of ranked game mode. You would not really know unless you had some kind of way of measuring the skill levels of your opponents accurately and that kind of stuff. And in a game, I mean, in Overwatch, it would be very easy to test because you can check the SR of all of your opponents. You could map it all out. But in games like, even like CSGO or Valorant, or certainly games like Call of Duty, it's so obfuscated that you can't even tell.
Yeah. This does feel like the future. Like looking at, how they would want to keep like player retention. It does make a lot of sense that game developers would go in that direction. So I'm not like really even surprised if this was an actual thing, because it just makes too much sense.
And that would suck though, right? Like this version of skill-based matchmaking where it's purely almost like your games are rigged to keep you engaged. That sucks. I mean, this is not fair in any sense if this is actually in the game, and people want things to be fair. Like maybe you wouldn't be able to tell. Do you feel like that robs you
of your entertainment?
Absolutely, yeah. If you go on like a loss streak, okay, so here's the thing. You would have to be aware that this system was in place for your entertainment to be robbed. Like if you don't know, if you've just got no idea and you just get gifted a win and you're like, holy shit, like I popped off in that game, I feel so good, I got the win, but you need to not have an understanding of the system in order to still feel rewarded. If it was really obvious, if you were just getting crushed for 3 games in a row and then it gave you an insanely easy game, and you knew that the system was in place, and you knew that you had just been gifted a win, well, now that feels like a cheap win, doesn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, I definitely feel like that way in Valorant, where sometimes in Valorant, I either get given like a very weird game where I'm suddenly like the highest ranked by far, or I'm the lowest ranked by far, crowded by like immortals, people above me.
Yeah.
And sometimes it does feel like the game is actually like put me in that spot as a test or some kind of thing, and I'm like,
this is
surprising.
A really interesting article and paper as well, because I'm looking at it now, and the churn risk, which is essentially the likelihood of somebody stopping for the night from playing the game, is what they call it. The percentage odds of them quitting then and there after these 3 results. So they've got 3 losses in a row. You would think that has the highest churn risk, which it does. It has a 5.1% chance of them leaving the game. I think this is in FIFA. They didn't say in the paper what game it was, but the way it draws losses and wins in a popular PvP game made by EA implies that it's probably FIFA or some other one-on-one sports game. Something you can draw in easily. So FIFA you could draw in. So 3 losses in a row is a 5.1% chance. But the second highest risk of somebody leaving is 2 wins and then a loss. So they get 2 wins in a row, and if they lose, they're like, I'm going off for the night.
Yeah,
like that.
I've seen you do that in Valorant as well, Bren. You win, and then you lose, and you're like, oh, I'm good for the night. Like it's that it's that like human thing of the win streak has ended. It's time to quit before it gets worse.
Losses.
Yeah, cut your losses. That's it.
But the reason I do it is the psychological effect that I know that if I've just had a bad game personally, it's not going to rectify itself by the next game.
Right.
Like queuing into the next one is just going to mean I'm less likely to win because of my psychological state. Right. So I think I have a much better chance if I just sleep on it and play the next day.
So there was if you go into comments, which by the way, the Reddit thread that you linked is so funny because one of the things says, this really needs more traction. It's highly unlikely that anything will change soon, but it's still worth spreading awareness. It's like, no, you want to know what's worth spreading awareness? Actual issues. But anyway, moving on. One of the things that we argue about.
Yeah.
But to kind of shift it on a lighter tone here. So one of the people linked a tweet from a person named Michael Callis, who goes by the Zilch on Twitter. And he is he says a principal coder and server nerd at Respawn, Apex Legends, Titanfall 1 and 2. And he stated that the EOMM, which is what this is called, is not in Apex Legends. It says it's not EOMM. No one working on Apex matchmaking has read the patent. Titanfall matchmaking has some resemblance to TrueSkill, but Apex does not. Games optimized for engagement, it's a false equivalence to say that means it implements EOMM or it is nefariously designed. And then he also said something earlier that was interesting. He said, matchmaking in nearly every game feature is engineered to compel players to keep playing. Apex, Titanfall matchmaking do not use EA patents. But that line though that he said, right? And it's not nefarious at all. Like matchmaking in nearly every game feature is compelled for players to keep playing. Like it's just to compel them to keep playing. That's like what it is. Like what people don't realize is that is the thing that we have. Like we want to keep they want us to keep playing games. They want us to keep spending money. That's why systems like skill-based matchmaking exist so that people are more inclined to stick around and play the games.
Which is not necessarily a bad thing, because that's also
not.
what, like, if you solve issues and make the game more fun, people are gonna stick around. You know,
Yeah,
some
you're still
some
giving them
methods
entertainment.
Yeah.
It's not like you're brainwashing them and making them feel like they're lifeless drones. It sucks that I feel like I'm defending a corporation here, but then the and I guess the final note for myself on it is like, look, watch out for all of those content creators with their Activision creator code accounts, and just pay attention. Pay attention, because you're going to see a whole bunch of Cold War videos coming out, and people are going to say, make sure you use code blah 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 in the Call of Duty store today, and then they'll just rag on some topics, and then, or maybe they won't even say that. Maybe it'll just be a real subtle little animation that pops up on the screen as they're talking about a subject, thus promoting their creator code, right? It's one of the reasons why I've never gotten a creator code for Epic, because I just felt like it was wrong. And I know that I'm turning down free money because I have friends of mine that have the creator codes, and they do really well. But I felt so weird, because if I don't agree with something, how can I in good faith ask you to spend money if I don't agree with it? It's the same thing with actually Call of Duty Cold War. Like, I played it this weekend in the PlayStation 4 Alpha, and I did not like it. It was not good. I could not wrap my head around it. It felt like a bastardized version of like Black Ops 1 trying. It was like as if Modern Warfare tried to cosplay as Black Ops 1, and it
Is
just
it
offended me,
is it
because
on
I was a
PC?
no, it was only on PS4. And I played Black Ops 1 competitively, and I can tell you I just didn't enjoy it. The maps were terrible. Some of the gunplay was like really spotty. There was a lot of network things too, but that will more than likely be addressed. But the point was that I didn't like it. So I'm not gonna go out there and then tell everyone, oh, go buy Call of Duty, use code Goldenboy. Like, I won't do that. I just won't do that. It goes against what I think, right?
You're a man of the people. I got a lot of
Well, yeah.
respect for that.
Well, for
Yeah.
example, I did sign up for the Spellbreak partner program, right? They reached out to me and I signed up for it. Why? Because I like Spellbreak. I play Spellbreak. I believe in the game. I think it's a really sick game. And I could play it for hours on end. So I'm okay telling someone, hey, like, go and check out this game. It's free and I think you really enjoy it. But I'll never tell someone like, use my code. If they want to, I'll provide it, but I'm not going to be like, well, use my code today. Like, I don't know. Does that make sense? Maybe it doesn't. I don't know. It's just
there's a table. I've been reading this paper, and there's a table in here that's really interesting. It's got the EOMM, this engagement optimized matchmaking, performs the best when the sample size is the highest. It performs the best by a significant margin in keeping people engaged, to keep people actually retained and playing. They reversed the algorithm that they're using so that it creates the worst situations possible, right? So like multiple losses in a row, this kind of thing, just to give the opposite end of it. They called it worst matchmaking. And it does make people leave the most. It has the lowest retention by a significant margin. Then they also compared skill-based matchmaking and random matchmaking. And random matchmaking had a larger retention at the highest sample size than skill-based matchmaking did.
Interesting.
By a very small margin, but it did. Now, that's with a sample size of 500. With a sample size of 400, it flips the other way. But a sample size of 300, random is higher. Like, obviously, with randomness, it's gonna have more variance, presumably.
Interesting.
But also, people want control,
But it's pretty similar. And so,
yeah.
I mean, this table in itself is maybe even a bit of an argument for the people that are saying skill-based matchmaking shouldn't exist, because
Could be.
it doesn't.
That's how I feel. It's
at least in this table, it doesn't actually appear to contribute to player retention. But there are other articles from the developers of various other team games saying that it does specifically help
It's also
engagement.
terminology too, right? because I remember the netcode debate. Like netcode wasn't even a real word. You know, it was just something that players that played Call of Duty used to justify why they didn't get a kill. Oh man, the netcode in this game is so trash. I killed that kid, but he just turned around and he shot me instead. The netcode. It's all about the netcode. And you hear it and you're like, the fuck is a netcode, dude? Like, do you even know what this is? But it's because some YouTuber like said it. So then everyone else is like, oh, there's netcode, netcode. And I think it's actually the same thing for skill-based matchmaking. Like, for all we know, it's not called skill-based matchmaking. They like realistically, Treyarch could tomorrow be like, hey, we've taken skill-based matchmaking out of the game. It probably was never there to begin with, because that's not what they called it. It's some other system, you know? And
Oh yeah, but I mean, it doesn't really matter whether you call it something different. It's the process.
Corporations, terminology is everything. And I do believe that, like, when Fortnite's like, oh, well, we took out skill-based matchmaking, they were like, we
just replaced it with engagement-based matchmaking.
We totally took it out.
Yeah.
Because like, do you really think that they don't have a system, right? Like, it'd be foolish to think that these large corporations that publish these massive AAA titles
Starting to sound a bit like me.
but no,
Of
it's
course
not.
they have one. Of course
they
do.
have to. It's not. There's no way. It's just like,
why
I'm
is
just
this
going to
a
jump in
debate?
and just throws your name into a lottery and pulls your name out of a hat and throws you with other people. There's just no
not.
way. There's
No.
no way it does that. I refuse to believe. Now I'm going to read this paper.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting.
I don't know. I've said my piece on it. I think it's a pretty boring conversation, personally.
Mhm.
I'm
People
like,
are
I don't
very
know.
up in arms about it.
Yeah, I don't. Really
I'm up
care
in
about
arms because I miss the days when I thought this was a funny. I was thinking about this in the elevator. So I went down to grab some delivery, and that me and my roommate ordered. And then I came up and was in the elevator and thinking, I was like, man, the skill-based matchmaking talk is like so dumb. But I recall something interesting. Like when I had talked about when I played Valorant and the first time, and like they opened the floodgates. One of my first games, someone like just started making like insanely racist comments, right? Like, oh man, it was just terrible. The things that these people were saying. It was like a group of it was like 3 of them, and they were saying it.
Yeah.
And I remember I tweeted it, and I remember people responding to that tweet saying, "Oh, you wouldn't have survived in the Modern Warfare 2 lobbies back in the day," you know? And I think like, man, how interesting is this that these are the same people that are like, "Meh, I want to win more, meh." And I'm like, man, you wouldn't have survived back in the Halo 2 lobbies back in the day, because if you were around back then, you probably it's obviously a false equivalency, right? Like but like
Sure.
I do think it's funny how it's like some things it's like okay to reference the past, but if you bring up the past in another instance, they're like, no, that's wrong. You're wrong and you're stupid and you're idiot and you're ugly. Because that's like the internet and that's like the world we live in. The internet's a great place.
The largest argument I can see against skill-based matchmaking, to be honest, is that it doesn't, you don't get the experience of getting better. Like, as you improve, your opponents improve as well, and unless you have a rank alongside that improvement, like when you play Valorant or CSGO, for example, as you get better, your opponents get better. So it's not like you start dominating your games, but you see your rank improve. You see that visually, that you are getting better. But if you're in a battle royale that doesn't tell you anything about your rank, then as you get better, you neither get more kills or get more wins at a more frequent rate, but nor do you get told that your opponents are better. So you don't get told that your rank is improving. You have no experience of improving. So all of your time and investment into actually getting better yields no dopamine hits in your brain.
Yeah.
So I think that's the key thing that they really need to fix, is that if you're gonna deny people the experience of improving, you have to reward them in some other way, which is normally games do that by giving you a rank, is by saying, you're in a top 2% lobby, well done, you're sick at this game. And so even if you're getting like a 0.8 KD ratio or something, you still can feel good about yourself because you know you're in the top 2% of people worldwide playing in these kind of elite level lobbies. You can still have that kind of like ego boost. But if you're not told that, you're improving personally, but never improving in terms of your results. That's the big problem, I think.
It's an interesting conversation. I find it to be interesting. I think our viewers, Bren, are very intellectual, and
They
will
love reading
appreciate-
papers.
Will appreciate this. You know,
The churn rate, DB.
The churn rate of the games are high.
so before
More
we wrap
games
things
should
up,
strive towards win, draw, loss formats rather than loss, draw, win formats because the churn rate is statistically
Oh my God.
higher.
I just want to say that I'm watching. I think we should put an end to this because I want to go to the gym. That's a selfish
I
reason.
have to go. Yeah, I
But
have to go. So
I'm watching Matt Mr. X Morello play Overwatch right now, and oh my God, he's got his title as Takedown MVP. The gameplay I'm seeing, oh, it's going to be easy to abuse that.
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh, it's gonna be so
Before we
easy.
wrap up, I did want to share one of our very loyal listeners and viewers. His name is Abyss. Came into my chat, and he said that we have a tendency to really tease stories and then never actually
True.
tell the stories
Very
in the next
true.
episode. So he had different topics for each of us that he really wants us to explore. And I think this would be great for us to do. So firstly, he said, Forehead's Untold Stories would appreciate a special edition for this one in parts or one shot because we know how they could tangent into AI and GB's humble life for some reason. So P.S. At the end of the episode Dream Hack Kebabs, I heard you wanted to do a live 3-hour episode, so this could be it, is what he basically is asking for. So for Bren, he says, I'm going to say what the story needs to be, and then the episode that it came from. So for Bren, it's went to clean his ears before the trip to Thailand, episode anesthesia and auto chess. He wants to know about your trip to get your ears cleaned and what happened before you went to Thailand.
Not that interesting.
But you have to share it. Also, Tesco stories, Pepega shit specifically. The episode we're starting a bee farm. You had some Tesco stories that we wanted to share. Feel like maybe you could drum those up.
I think I've already shared them.
You said something
Yeah.
along the lines of like, I have some stories, believe you me, or something like that. I to an effect.
Yeah, a lot of them I couldn't share because I could get arrested. So I don't think I will share them.
Okay, that's fair. That's fair. Can we have the story of Bren with the wild boar? This was from the episode Fishing Tales from Sweden. Do you recall that
the
one?
wild
Wild boar?
Go back and watch Fishing Tales from Sweden, and I'll tell
I
you.
think that might have just been some bullshit, right? Like you were just
Maybe.
being hyperbolic or something.
Could be. Or
Could
A
be. I don't
wild
know.
boar.
I don't-
we gotta go and we gotta comb through this. We gotta find this info. All right.
Okay.
Next up was Napoli or Napoleon, Natalie, I don't know, a chef from Gloucester. And this was from Bren's a Menace in
Nepalese
South
chef.
Korea. The Nepalese chef. Yeah.
Ah.
He had a story about a Nepalese chef from Gloucester.
No, I mean, the
It's a-
restaurant
it's a
was just called
restaurant.
the Nepalese chef.
Oh, that's what it is?
Yeah.
I mean,
Okay.
this could all be cleared up at the end of this
seconds.
episode.
Okay. Then the next one is a story that might get him arrested, which was the episode, the Scuffus episode. You said that there was a story that might get you arrested, which you also
Gotta
just
narrow
said
it
that
down
about
more than
Tesco.
that.
So, yeah.
Yeah, probably
Well-
one of the Tesco ones.
Is there...
Could
All
be
right, now
many.
that's it for Bren. For Sideshow, it was a disappointment, not even one story. The smoothest brain, keep the bald old man. You have no
I have
lingering
nothing.
stories.
There we go.
Yeah.
Pretty good.
Then for me, he gave me a bunch of things. He said Forehead's Minecraft when, which Bren joined the server, but I don't think we'll get Johnny and Josh to do that.
Probably not.
Story about his mom during his wedding day. Oh, actually, I do have a great story about that. I'll share that
Okay.
next time. Raid, pest control story. He apparently was at war with cockroaches, and that was in the episode The Death of Mixer. Yes, I was. Can totally share that one. That was some wild shit. Then there was a poop story in Sopas where he can't look at the soup. Oh yes, hit the sopas when I had to take a poop. Oh yeah, no, it was really bad. It wanted to come out from every hole.
All
Yeah,
right, let
this
me
was
just
the
make a note of
episode-
that. Poop soup.
Yeah. This
Jot
was
that
the
one down.
Siete Sopas story. This is from the episode Bren becomes a father.
God, that was incredible.
This is crazy. Oh, and then the story where I fought a tree. I could actually tell you that story right now.
I don't have time. I
was on shrooms. That's the story. Next up, I inadvertently took shrooms. I didn't know, and then here I am.
Inadvertently. Oh my, that sounds great.
Yeah, and then
terrible,
Johnny
actually.
has two. It was tell us how he got reinforced as an in-game name. Yeah, I don't think you ever shared that story.
Yeah.
Oh,
was,
yes. Will
Yeah.
you ever share it?
Yeah, I'll share it next time.
Yeah, all right in the schedule, right in the
Yeah,
doc.
I'm
And
writing
then the
it.
next one was
It's
play
gonna be such a
Apex with
disappointment.
Johnny.
It's actually
Please,
such a weak story. It's
I
not
think
even
he
a story.
wanted
It's
he
just a
wanted
comment.
me
What am I
he-
saving this for?
play Apex with Johnny. I don't know why he said play
Dunno.
Apex with
Apex.
Johnny. Also he says, Johnny, please stop using whatever too much.
Whatever?
Whatever.
Do you say the word
Apparently, Johnny
whatever a
says-
lot? I've never
I say
noticed that.
etc. a lot.
Mm.
Etc. So there you go. So we have some threads
Okay.
we need to close.
I guess that'll incentivize us to actually do another episode then, will it?
Maybe in a
Well,
month.
I think no. Well, we're gonna do another one. We have to do another one next week. We're gonna do it
Okay,
next week.
all
When is
right.
Overwatch League finals?
Oh, probably next week.
It's like October
Next
13
week,
or
I
something.
think is. No, wait. Next
No,
weekend.
it's in like
We
2
got-
weeks, right?
Yeah, but then we got All Stars and some. I
Whatever.
don't know.
We'll figure out a time. We
Whatever.
can do it.
We're
We
gonna
can
do it.
We'll
Uh,
do one at some point.
And then also, I think
Fuck's sake! I gotta go.
we're gonna do Among Us. We got to do Among Us. So that's that.
Sure.
Anyway,
I
my
don't
friend
even
paid
have.
me.
I don't
love
even have the
spending-
game. I've not bought the game.
$5 and give it to indie devs. Support.
I want to
them.
go to
Johnny.
the gym.
All right, Bren wants to go to the gym. Johnny's being a douche. Josh has to eat more Pringles.
I actually
and
do.
I gotta go and be a husband. So that's gonna do it for us here. Thank you so much for watching
Who-
and
Your wife.
listening.
Husband to who?
Yeah. More on that in the next episode. Thank you so much for
He means
watching and
wives.
listening to
He
the
means
Foreheads
wives.
Polygamy. Foreheads podcast. If you enjoyed this podcast, make sure you leave a like on Spotify. You can also rate and review on Apple Podcasts, wherever you choose to listen to your audio goodness. We'd love to hear from you. Maybe we'll read your review in the next episode if it's good enough. So make it good. All right. Make it good. Don't be that guy.
Okay.
You can also check us out all on our individual streams. You got Bren stream. It's twitch.tv/Bren, twitch.tv/Reinforce, Sideshow, and Goldenboy FTW. Right? That's everyone's channel.
Yeah, that's
Pog.
Poggers. All right. Bren's going to go to the gym. He wants to kill me now. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.